Sometimes it's just a matter of aligning stars, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. Timing is a really funny thing. This morning, we made a video about two moves the Red Sox really needed to make as soon as humanly possible, and it seems like the Red Sox absolutely took that into account. I don't know if someone's watching up there or what, because one of those moves was made just a couple of hours ago, actually just after this video was released, or really before this video was released. And what do I mean by that? Well, according to Chris Cotillo, the Boston Red Sox are going to be placing Jordan Hicks on the IL with what they are calling as a shoulder issue. Now, the reason I say it was either before the video this morning or after the video this morning is because there's also a report that Jared Carrabis on Section 10 said something similar in his podcast last night. Now, I haven't listened to the podcast yet in order to fully determine that, but I'm going to take everyone's word for it. Jared's usually a pretty trustworthy source when it comes to Red Sox news, so we're going to assume that it was Carrabis, then Cotillo. I'm just going to make sure I credit everybody because I don't want anybody mad at me, but ultimately, it doesn't really matter who ended up with this news item first, because at the end of the day, what matters is that Jordan Hicks is no longer with the Boston Red Sox, right? And ultimately, that's a good thing. It doesn't really matter how they got there. Now, in my opinion, this is maybe the most false IL report we've ever gotten in our entire history on this channel, right? It feels like they sat there and they said, well, we can't really DFA this guy because we have so much money and years attached to his contract. Can't really option this guy because, well, first off, that's not on the table unless he accepts a minor league option, but then he could just request a DFA or release, and now we're still stuck with that contract. We're going to have to put him on the injured list, and I have to imagine the conversation with Jordan Hicks went something like this. Hey man, pretty rough day out there for you today. Yeah, well, I don't know. There was a little bit of something going on my shoulder. Maybe I slept on it wrong. Whoa! Wait a second. What do you mean your shoulder's hurt? We got to make sure you're okay, man. We got to make sure you're good. We're going to take every single precautionary step necessary to make sure that you're on the field and as healthy as ever. Welcome to the 15-day IL. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's really worth it. I think I just slept on it wrong. No. Please, trust us. We need you on this IL right now. We need to make sure that you are as healthy as humanly possible. You're maybe the most valuable player on this team. Well, all right. Do I really have a choice? No, you don't have a choice. You need to get on there and stay on there, and we need to make sure that you are 100% healthy, sir. Oh, okay, all right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is maybe the dumbest 30-second clip we've ever had. On this channel. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of regretting putting that in there, but we're going to keep it in there. I'm going to test it out. You guys let me know down below what you think of my live reenactment of this Jordan Hicks conversation, but ultimately this is what I'm talking about, right? You look at the options, the Red Sox didn't really have any left, and they sat there and they said, we needed to do something to get this guy off the roster. We simply can't have a guy that's in here with a 4th worst ERA in the game after he got traded over here, 7th worst FIP in the game, for the 3rd worst F4 in baseball among relievers during that time span. He was just plain old awful. And the Red Sox need to put their best team on the field every single day they can from here on out. If they don't do that, they are costing themselves wins. They are costing themselves positions in a postseason and potentially losing themselves some home court advantage here, right? And that's ultimately what the Red Sox need to be playing for, is trying to get to the postseason and trying to get to the postseason at home. If you are going out there and in games where you probably could have a chance to win, right? Like last night's a perfect example. You sweep the Cleveland Guardians, you're in a much better spot than if you lose to the Cleveland Guardians, but you didn't want to waste any of your big arms in the second inning. You didn't want to waste any of the high leverage guys, so you go to Jordan Hicks and all of a sudden this game is out of control. You just simply can't have that coming. Now, I know I just spent the first 5-6 minutes of this video talking about how this is clearly not an IL stint, but I will say I'm not going to sit here trying out this organization or call BS on them putting him on the IL, because last time I did that was with Tanner Houck when I said there's no way this isn't a Phantom IL, and then he immediately had to get Tommy John surgery, right? So maybe there is something going on here with Jordan Hicks. Maybe it's a legitimate injury and he comes back, 2 or 3 weeks later, joins the playoff roster or whatever, and he's absolutely electric. I'm just holding out hope here that maybe there's something that the Red Sox can figure out here health-wise to get Jordan Hicks back into a regular spot. And maybe there legitimately was some pain going on here. I have to imagine there was at least something, right? It was definitely overblown a little bit, and they were definitely like, please, for the love of God, go into the IL. But maybe there is something here, right? And I don't want everyone to sit here and be like, this has to be the Phantom IL. The Red Sox can't do this, blah, 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 blah. I have to imagine there's some sort of factual evidence to Jordan Hicks being hurt. But ultimately, while I feel terrible saying I don't really care how he got there, I don't really care how he got there, right? I needed this guy out of the bullpen, and this is how the Red Sox did it. But this also means the Red Sox have somebody coming back onto this team. So let's talk about them as well. But before we do, a quick word from today's sponsor. Honestly, now that I'm a few more years out of college than I'd like to really admit, after a night of drinks, I simply just don't bounce back the next day like I used to. That is, until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking, and I get it. Honestly, I get it. I was a little bit skeptical about this thing at first, but I decided why not? I'll give it a shot, right? I took it my last time out at Fenway Park, and obviously the ensuing evening that came after that. And honestly, the next morning I felt really great. In fact, great enough to record this video just after that next day. So how does this whole thing work? Well, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct and not dehydration that's to blame for rough mornings after drinking. Pre-alcohol, it produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Listen, baseball, playoffs, football, they're all right around the corner. This is the perfect time of year to either go to a big game, put the game on your couch, and either way, you're probably raising a glass, right? Just remember, when you do, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/RSR to learn more and get 15% off of your order when you use code RSR at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Again, remember to head over to zbiotics.com/RSR and use code RSR for 15% at checkout. Thank you very much to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the video. The player taking over for Jordan Hicks on the Major League roster is going to end up being Chris Murphy. And I'm actually pretty excited about the fact the Red Sox are bringing Chris Murphy back up. For starters, he was pretty solid with this big league team. It was a 3.05 ERA with a 5.36 FIP. The reason the FIP is so high is because he really lost command of his pitches in his last couple of outings. But since he was demoted, he has 13 innings pitched in minor league baseball with a 0.69 ERA, 12 strikeouts, and 6 walks. Now, that does kind of sound like a little bit of a walk issue, right? Where you sit there and you're like, Corbin, why should I be excited this guy's still walking batters? A lot of the walks, or I would say a little bit less than half of his walks, came from one singular game where he went 2 innings and walked 3. Outside of that, he's been 4 walks in 11 innings, which is definitely a little bit better. Honestly, if you're having a conversation about who should be called up, I think this guy's front of the line. Like, I get Kyle Harrison as a starter potential, and I get Kyle Harrison was traded for Rafael Devers, but right now he's dealing with an ankle issue. He's still having a little bit of walk issues down in AAA. I'm curious as to whether or not, if Kyle Harrison was fully healthy, if they would still go Chris Murphy over this guy. I kind of imagine they might, right? The other interesting thing about Chris Murphy's time in AAA that I forgot to mention is the fact that he's starting to make some starts for the Woo. I don't think people say that, but the Worcester Red Sox, we're just going to say Worcester Red Sox here. He made 2 or 3 starts down there. Now, they weren't incredibly long starts. They were essentially just openers where he went 3 innings in each of them. But this does give the Red Sox bullpen a little bit of versatility. Instead of having Bernie, Jordan Hicks, and then Zach Kelly, maybe you go Chris Murphy for 3, Zach Kelly for 3, and then all of a sudden you picked up 6 innings in 2 pitchers, right? And that's going to make these sort of bullpen-ish games a little bit easier. You're going to have to make a couple of spot starts down the stretch here because, again, we talked about this before, but just for those of you who haven't been paying attention, I guess, Peyton Tolle is not really available every 5th day. He's really available every 6th day, and that's just simply because that's how minor league baseball works, and you don't really have the time to sort of get him into enough shape, major league-wise, to bring him back into a 5-day schedule. So you kind of have to go every 6th day with Peyton Tolle, which means you're going to have to make some spot starts here and there, and this could be absolutely perfect for it. Now, one thing I will mention with Chris Murphy that's going to be very interesting is the fact that they now have a majority of left-handed pitchers in the bullpen. That's 5 left-handed pitchers: Chapman, Wilson, Bernie, Matz, and Chris Murphy. And while I'm not too worried about Aroldis Chapman being able to get both sides out, it is going to be interesting to see which lefties the Red Sox end up going to get those tough righties out. Because if you can only go to right-handed pitchers, well, you have a little bit less of them, and that could end up blowing these guys out a little bit more than you would initially want. So that's going to be an interesting thing that Core is going to have to deal with here. And I know there's a lot of people who love Core's bullpen management, so we'll see how that one goes. But overall, I am genuinely excited to get Chris Murphy back. And I do kind of feel bad. It felt like this video was sort of dancing on the grave of Jordan Hicks. I don't mean it to be, right? I really don't. If he is legitimately hurt, I feel terrible about it. I hope he comes back healthy. And again, you know what? Maybe it was an injury that's been holding Hicks back this entire time. It was with Tanner Houck. Maybe there's something similar going on here with Jordan Hicks. But I can't help but get a little bit excited about the fact that a guy who's been one of the worst statistical pitchers in the entirety of Major League Baseball since you got him is no longer going to be a hindrance on the team, right? It's hard for me to sit here and pretend like that's not a good thing for the Boston Red Sox, that it's not an addition by subtraction. So I'm just going to be blunt and be honest with you guys, because that's all I've ever been on this channel. So it's weird saying I'm excited that Jordan Hicks is hurt, but I'm pretty confident that this is a very, very minor injury that's going to take a very, very long time for him to come back from. I am interested to see what the Red Sox end up doing with him. Are they going to at least attempt to sort of rehabilitate this and try and get him back before the end of the season? Are they that invested in this guy? Are they just simply going to say, hey, buddy, take a seat. We'll try in the offseason, and don't worry, we're not going to DFA you because we've invested the money in the trade into you. We're going to try and make you work this offseason. That's going to be something to pay attention to as well. But ultimately, no matter which way you slice it, I think, regardless of whether it's real or whether it's a ghost, I think this is a good thing for this Red Sox team. But let me know in the comments if you disagree. What do you guys think of the move? What do you think about the news? Let me know all your thoughts. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps these videos out a ton. Best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.